Thanks, Sven, for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, last but not least, the last talk for tonight, and as I'm now the last one, I didn't have to cut some slides out. Yeah, in general, this is a slightly larger and longer talk, but for the late evening session, I thought I cut some slides and but provide the full slides online. And here are the bits and bytes of the talk. I will talk about responsive and fast. Yeah. As you maybe know, this is a slide or a picture from Brad Frost. Brad Frost described his thesis about responsive web design in this iceberg, and where he said this what we or Ethan Marcotte explained as responsive web design is only the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, this is responsive web design with a fluid layout and media queries and so on, but in real life, it is much more. It is feature detection and content strategy and something else like platform optimization and so on and so on. And a large capital letter, there is performance in there. So today we want to talk about the performance of responsive web design, pages or sites or whatever. This is an example of how it could be, how it could get wrong. This is a nice responsive relaunch from Oakley or Motor Oakley. Nice parallax effects and great graphics and something else. But as they launched, the page rate was about 85.4 megabyte, had 471 HTTP requests, and they had a loading screen, and it loaded about 2 minutes and 45 seconds, and was about 4 minutes until the unload event fires. Yeah, this is not responsive web design. Yeah, this is too much, and we know it. Yeah, some nice folks pointed out this is way too much, and yeah, they fixed their version, and I don't know if it's already online like this, but after I fixed some of their code and optimized something, they are still 14.2 megabytes and slightly less requests, only 291 requests. The shape of more than 70 megabytes for one page, for only one page. Yeah, still too much. They made a little bit better for a mobile user agent. It's not that much requests and not that much data, but 6.7 megabytes, still too much code for a mobile browser. So maybe you know this site. What does my site cost.com? It's by Kadlec, and you can drop in a URL and calculate how large your site is and provide some statistics. How much does it cost if someone in this country opens your site in a mobile browser or something else? And maybe you know here in Germany, the cost of a mobile web is slightly larger than in other countries, and so the cost for Germany if we serve this website from our country and in general network is typically in the first 5 to 10 countries. So it's quite expensive to serve here in Germany, and so this site will cost you 81 cents in dollar cent in general. Yeah, this is you can surf to the site, and there are some explanations what these statistics are and how they're calculated, and some more information. But in general, this is quite expensive here in Germany to surf the web via mobile, and so if you surf to a large site and many data, it costs you much money. So another example, what could be wrong, what could get wrong. The Bytes magazine launched their website the responsive way, but not the really responsive way. It is still too large in general. Is it as they launched or provided a beta preview or whatever, there are still 8 to 9 megabytes to load, and I don't know how to get only 1 point in page speed index. But yeah, I come to this later. The Filament group and tested this site and provide some ways to speed up this page. So, and maybe you see a lot of these examples, and you maybe thought it is always the fault of responsive web design, but a responsive web design make your pages look better and variety of devices, but it doesn't automatically make your pages load better on a variety of devices. It's all about the implementation. Tim Kadlec said here this. It is not automatically that you have a fast website. You have to make it fast on yourself. So in general, blame the implementation, but not the technique. So it is not the responsive web design fault if you provide a bad website. Yeah. Where are we now? The average web page size is now 2.6 megabyte, the average. They're calculated at httparchive.org. The overall, I don't know if it's 1,000 websites or the more than 10,000 websites. They're crawled and made this statistic, but in general, we are at 2.6 megabyte. It is too large. You see how the graph grows, and if we could compare it with a game of the early 90s, the compressed installer copy was only 2.3 megabyte. Yeah, the whole game. Yeah, not only a web page. So what are the pages are about? It is a little bit different. Yeah, it is a combination of all of these ingredients. For sure, we have to serve the HTML, the markup, and we have to serve some CSS and scripts, maybe more or less. But as you can see, we serve a lot of images today. This is an average of the whole page there. You can find more statistics of the http://archive.org about this and how something of these ingredients grow over time. So the problem is, when do you think about the performance in your project? I think in many projects, when you think about the performance, it's like this. So in this department where I think most of us are doing the work in the development, and then between the real development and the launch, most of the people think here we could provide some performance optimization. But where performance needs to happen is in general from the beginning of the whole project, not only at the end, or we could do some performance optimization. We have to think about performance if we create designs or think about the concept or what content in general is on this site or page. And so it is an ongoing process. Yeah. We want to we want to have a performance culture in our company and our projects, so that performance optimization is not only an event. So performance is a cultural thing, so that all company member, project member should care about the performance. Yeah. So and now I come to this point where Radi was in his first presentation. Where does the user think that we feel it is fast, and Radi showed it to us, and I don't want to go into deep. You know, if it is fast between I think 100 and 1000 milliseconds, it is fast for us, and so we want to show something to the user in about 1000 milliseconds, in about 1 second. Yeah? So how can we do this? And one thing we could do is a so-called performance budget. Do you know the term performance budget? Yeah. Do you use a performance budget? Okay, yeah, great. But for all the others, Tim Kadlec as well came with this term of the concept of the performance budget, and there are several performance budget goals you can do. So not only the page load time and the page rate in general you can do in your projects, but there are some other goals that you can make. So maybe you want to have a low speed index, or as some company you declare the time to the first tweet as your performance goal, and this time you want to achieve with your application. Yeah. What is the performance budget? Where can we describe this concept? Imagine you have a monthly budget of 500 euros. So you spend 300 euros for your rent, and maybe then you have 100 euros for the groceries and 100 for clothes or something else. If you don't have 500 euros per month, maybe you have only 400 euros per month. The rent is the same, so you can only spend 50 euros for the groceries and only 50 euros for the clothes. Similar is a performance budget. If you declare you want only have the page weight of 400 in kilobytes, so you can calculate these ingredients of the website. So maybe you have a nice font by 50 kilobytes and you serve some CSS, and for sure you serve some images around 300 kilobytes. Your 400 kilobytes are empty, and maybe you want to have some nicer behavior. So maybe you want to use some JavaScript, and if this JavaScript is around 50 kilobytes, your performance budget is empty. So what you have to do is cut something else. Maybe compress some images or something, what you can do to achieve the 400 kilobyte limit. Yes. So in general, you can't spend what you don't have. Yeah, similar to the money. And if you only have 500 euros per month, you can't spend more in general. And similar to the page weight or something else, if you set the limit to 400 kilobytes, you want all of the ingredients of the website to be in summary to 400 kilobytes. So what are good perf budgets, so performance budget metrics? In general, there are 600 kilobytes total page weight. Yeah, it depends on the site and on what you do on this site. Some blogs come out with 200 kilobyte or something else. Some larger sites are much larger. So the point is that you declare your own performance budget limit, and this is for the 1 second page load that we want to achieve, the render time. 600 kilobytes are okay. It is okay to load in 1 second, but you have to do maybe some further optimization. So in this good performance budget list is something like 20 requests. Yeah, requests are expensive. If you optimized requests and cut some requests, it is always good. The speed index of 1000 is great, and maybe less than 3 seconds to see something on 3G. As I already showed you, do some test on 3G connection, or something the browser can do to limit your connection, and see how your site loads and optimize to this. So what can we do to maintaining this performance goal if we are on this nice optimized site and we want to do some nice new features? So product owner come to us and wants to have a new slider or something else. Yeah. In general, you have different options to achieve this performance goal. You can optimize existing features. Yeah. You can remove some existing features, or you don't add new features. So maybe it's difficult, but if you want to stay on this nice fast loading site, you have to do something, and this in general is some of the options. So how to measure this? And I think you already know the webpage test.org, a website where you can have nice waterfalls and statistics and optimization tips. And something not that new, but something newer is this so-called speed index, where you have an ion. And the speed index is the average time at which visible part of the page are displayed. It is expressed in milliseconds and depend on size of the viewport. So the lower speed index, the better is better. So it looks something like this. So if you test your site on webpage-test.org, and there you have a number of speed index, and if you compare some sites, maybe a beta version or after optimization, you get this graph, and the lower the visual feedback and the visual progress, the better. So the lower the speed index is. So some performance tips in general. I think if you are in performance optimization, you already know some of them. So follow the page speed index advices, concatenate files and Minify, or serve files asynchronously, and test. So some tips, yeah, concatenate useful chunks of CSS and JavaScript, and Radi already mentioned that, was it Radi or was it Martin? Or the scripts serve only the scripts that are used. Or it was on Martin's talk. Yeah. They're all great. told you all about this, and maybe consider that you load scripts only on demand. So for sure, Minify, compress and shrink your files, and Minify your styles in JavaScript, and use gzip compression, and for sure use to compress and shrink your images. This is a lot potential task, and so we come to the responsive images and what we can do with images. Can you read this? This is a commit strip, and yeah, I can read it to you. As the guy in left in green, we pay a lot of money for this global CDM, you know. It is not important to save this previous milliseconds for mobile browsing. Oh, it is. But all this is totally useless. Do you know why? No, because we load desktop JPEGs on mobile, you fool. So I see this very often, that we serve too large images to mobile viewports, and that is a problem. So to remember, the average size of all images combined in one site is 1.7 megabyte. And I know web design is now full of full screen hero images and so on, but we can do some compression or some optimization to not serve too large images in browsers. With some basic image performance tips, and I think this is already known. Use some spriting technique. If you use some of these, yes, I think some icons or something like this, SVG icon sprites or something like this. Optimize your images. Yeah, there are a lot of tools out there. PNG Mini, JPEG Mini, or use another file format like WebP, or compress with mods JPEG and so on and so on. But do not deliver larger files than needed. So use ImageOptim. This is a Mac tool. There's an online version, and there are other tools for Windows and something like this. And there are tools for SVG to save file size, and there's a lot of tools you can use now. And sure, use responsive images. Responsive images is now standard. You can use new properties, new attributes. There is a new attribute called source set, where you can provide different files for file locations, and the browser calculates the best image for the viewport you currently have. So there are another type of responsive images. This is picture, and source set provides the information to the browser. Source set and sizes are for the same image in different dimensions, and picture provides instruction to the browser. Picture is for the art direction images. If you want to have another cut of the image for another viewport, and you can use type switching with picture for different image types, image format. So this is a picture element where you can provide different files. So picture is like the video tag. So inside the picture tag you have an usual image tag, so as a fallback or as a placeholder, and then you provide some sources, a medium and a large picture, as for example, and you can write a media query where this image is shown and loaded. So this is available in all modern browsers except for the old IE. So IE 11, for those you have to use a picture fill or only the fallback version, and the older Android browsers, they don't support the picture element, but all modern browsers support it today. So, and you can use the so-called type switching with the picture element. This is the same. You have the picture wrapper. You have the placeholder fallback image. In this example, it is in JPEG, and with the source type and with the type WebP, you can provide a WebP image format for the browsers that support WebP. So Chrome can have an WebP image that is maybe slightly smaller, or maybe really smaller than in JPEG or in PNG. So this is possible, and serves smaller files to the browser. Consider some lazy load techniques. There are some tools, some scripts. There are lazy sizes JavaScript library where you can lazy load your responsive images or iframes or something more. And this is great that still the browser loads every image it is on the page, even if you don't scroll to the footer or something like this. Even there are images hidden in some accordion, something like this. And for this, I recommend you use lazy loading these images, and lazy sizes calculates the right dimension of the image to load. Yeah. And only loads if you scroll in this section where the image is, and so on. There are some services you can use that gives you the right sized image back and something like this. So last topic, the critical render part. I think you already heard about the critical rendering part, the critical CSS, critical JavaScript. This is the intermediate steps between receiving the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript bytes, and the required processing to turn them into a rendered pixel. So this is an important slide information, I think. Prepare site for the first 13 kilobytes. The old network protocol, HTTP1, has a so-called TCP slow start. And maybe some of you know it a little bit better, but as I know it, the browser starts with only small chunks of bytes, and if sends to the browser, and if this is successful, it sends larger packages, and so on and so on. So if you want to show early at this stage something to a user, prepare your site for the first 14 kilobytes. So there should all be in what you want to show. So maybe the markup, the HTML, maybe some so-called critical CSS to show some skeleton or something what the user sees first in his viewport, and maybe some JavaScript to what you do on load. And if you send this, the user see really fast in his browser, and you can load the rest of the site at a later stage. So speaking of the critical CSS in general, it looks like this. So you inline the critical CSS inside the head. So inline styles, and the problem with responsive web design is that you don't know what the critical CSS is. You have different viewports. Maybe you see only the header part, or maybe some burger navigation, or some more of the navigation, some of the hero images, or something in text, or something else. And on larger screens, you see more of the site. So the viewport is very different with responsive web design. So you can't be sure what's really critical. And so you have to test something, and what is the best approach, and how much critical CSS is really critical, and so on and so on. If you found the critical CSS for you, use JavaScript to load the whole file of the CSS, and this load CSS in this case. And if you want to do it right, use a cookie to check if the user has already the cache version of the CSS and make a switch of the server-side rendering of the page. So, but don't try to outsmart the browser. For sure, this is a technique you can use for now, but browser do some pre-parsing and so on and so on. And it is really difficult to do it better than the browser. So in the future, we can use something like this. The browser provides us some functionality. So in Chrome, this is already implemented. I don't know if Firefox already implemented, but Chrome has it now. We can use a link with rel preload to preload the critical CSS, and in the future we can do some more of this performance optimization with browser tools, so-called. Yeah. So we come back to this page. Scott JL wrote a blog post about this and tested this site and provide some optimization, and he removed 8 seconds in loading without removing the content by only compress CSS and JavaScript and provide the critical CSS and fonts loading and something like this. And the point is that more weight doesn't mean more weight, and so-called you can have a large heavy site, but that doesn't mean that the user always have to wait to see to use your site. You can do some tricks and optimization without to reduce the content or something like this. Yeah, so you can do a lot of things to show pages faster. And in general, some performance tips can be wrong with HTTP2. The main performance tips are equal and still valid, but some of them are not so true anymore. So domain sharding isn't useful with HTTP2, and the concatenation of resources is something what you maybe don't need with HTTP2 and so on. So if you use HTTP2 to server side, think about these optimizations. There are a lot you can do, especially with image optimization, but for some network optimization, maybe some other things are better today as in the past. So performance is a requirement and not an extra feature. So you can optimize at the end of a project, but it's always better if you think about the performance from the beginning on. And so you can't check and checkbox and say, okay, performance, yes, and your site is ready. You always have to care about this. And so I want to thank you and say perf matters. And if you have questions, please. So just one additional here you find some more slides about fonts and optimization and so on and so on. There are the full slides. Question?
Yes, you had this slide showing the chance loading HTTP1. Is that different in HTTP?
Yes, it is different. You have in HTTP1, it is that you have usually to the TCP slow start the max connection for domain, and they are different in browsers. Some load 6 or 8 files, and some more or some less. All IE 6 and 8 load only 2 files per domain at the same time. And with HTTP2, you open all connections at once, so you can push all files to the browser at the same time.
So you don't have this
I don't know if this is not anymore, but I think not. With HTTP2, it isn't instant or something like this. But some of the optimization isn't needed anymore. Yeah. Okay. So
thank you for your talk. You showed a few examples of being able to look at a particular URL and then see what were the big culprits for making that page slow. Do you know of any services or tools that let me do that across my entire site, so I can identify hotspots that I should work on first, or anything similar to that?
You mean tools?
So I can use PageSpeed to look at a single URL, right? But my website has more than one URL, right?
Yeah.
Are there tools which will comport my site and give me some idea of what the most common strategies I should apply to improve my entire site?
Yes, there are several tools. I think of SpeedCurve is a tool.
I use SpeedCurve, and
Yeah.
that's €1 at a time.
Yeah.
I have to pay loads of money to have it tackle all of my URLs.
Yeah, no.
Is there anything that is doing this? Because it seems like
you can use our integrating a JavaScript tag inside. When someone hits the site, you get this information from all of them.
Okay. Can I actually use Google Analytics? It's already got that, but
You do not get that insights to all the resources.
Yeah. But there are Google Docs. I know of a Google Doc where you can write down different URLs and check at once. I know this Google Doc is about different domains, but I think you can do it with the same domain and different URLs. Do you know some of the tools?
Yeah, so there's real user monitoring, right? But then analytics is, in my opinion, good enough. There are surely more advanced tools there. Yeah. But sitespeed.io is crawling your site, so you can start a bot there, and it will figure out all the links that are in your website. So it's sitespeed.io.
Another tool I can suggest to you is something that I recently found. It's called SpeedRacer. It's actually taking advantage of Chrome headless features that they recently introduced as well. So you can, it's an NPM package. So you can, and there is a command line interface as well. And you can automate this process for numerous URLs.
Oh, nice. So like CLI for performance.
Yeah, and there are node packages for web page test too, and maybe you can do some. Yeah. Okay. Another question? Yes.
So with the performance budget, would you factor visible images into the budget or
the best answer to this is it depends. I think I don't calculate the whole images, but if you use some hero image or something like this, and this is your home page, and where you want to load a large image, or in larger image than in other pages, I would calculate it in. But if you lazy load images later on the site, I wouldn't include it. So this is a little bit tricky here. Okay.
Cool, then. Thanks, Sven, Martin, and Vladimir. We still have some pizza left, so if you're still hungry, feel free, and we can hang around for a little bit longer if you want. Thank you. Dankeschön, Speaker. Du hast schon. One is that the server knows, hey, you can request this,